Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the GBYWN Australia podcast. Didn't think I'd be doing one of these again, but here we are. And I have a special co-host here tonight with me, and his name is Daniel Johnston.
Well, I'm not really special because I've been on like 500 of these, but...
I think you're a special guest.
Yeah.
And you're my co-host. You will be
yes.
You'll be driving this episode. Yeah. Are you excited, DJ?
Yeah, put your seatbelt on, cunt. Gonna be asking the hard questions.
Yeah.
Gonna be fucking, delving deep.
And what we'll be doing today, ladies and gentlemen, is we'll be looking at Road to Ruin 2012. WZWA Road to Ruin 2012. We'll be doing a little watch-along of the whole show. It's about an hour and a half long. So if you do want to watch along as we're talking about it, then what I suggest you do is fire up the WZWA YouTube and find... not the WZWA YouTube. Go to YouTube, search WZWA Road to Ruin, and there'll be a channel called WZWA Full Shows.
I feel like it's already getting a bit too complicated for people to... Yeah. Just put a link to the video.
I'll put a link to the video, and then you guys can follow along.
Because otherwise everyone's going to be like, I'm not going to fucking do all that. You want me to type into my keyboard? I'm not doing that.
So the thing about this is DJ has never really seen Road to Ruin 2012. You've probably seen the recap, DJ, right?
Yeah.
But you probably can't remember, or you probably didn't pay
I never
much
really
attention.
watched stuff that I wasn't in. But I might have been... Because I used to go to the events before I started wrestling, yeah?
Right. And we'll have a look through the footage here, and we'll see if you're in the crowd, but I don't think you are. I've got a feeling you're not there. So we'll be watching Road to Ruin, an era of WZWA that DJ was not a part of yet, but this is the first show that I was actually at, and I was in charge of. So we're going to be seeing a lot of younger versions of the originals, and all the boys, and this is just the early stages of what became, without a doubt, one of the greatest backyard wrestling federations there ever was, the Warzone Wrestling Alliance, DJ.
Can you grab me a beer, man, out of that ass?
Yeah, sure, bro.
Yeah.
Sure.
So I just want to, before we actually put the event on...
You want a cider?
No, I'll have the export first. I'll go with that. I'll break it up a little bit.
Alright, there you go.
Because I'm still waiting for them to get colder.
Alright.
So... I think that, just before we go head on into it, let's talk. So, you became, I don't know how much we've gone into this on, your personal episode of the podcast, or, do you think it's still picking me up clearly?
Yeah, it would be, yeah. Yeah.
So, I'm talking about the microphone. Everyone that's not listening, we're both talking into the same podcast microphone sitting on the table in front of us.
They know how it works.
Yeah. So, you found out about WZWA. Tell us how you got involved in it. You don't have to go fully into it, I'm sure.
I won't go into full detail, but...
let's give everyone a bit of background. How did you end up... How does it get to the point where a couple of young guys from Ocean Reef start up their own backyard wrestling fed without even knowing you, basically, except from ICWS, and then somehow you still managed to end up in charge of it? So
that's what's funny, isn't it?
Yeah.
It was... They were obviously the young kids that would come along to ICWS shows and wrestling there. And then I find out that apparently their dad's getting a ring built. And I'm like, I'll believe it when I see it.
Yeah, your first reaction
I've heard it all before. Everyone's always said, going to get a ring built. People said that for years in many walks of backyard wrestling, and it never came to fruition. So I was like, yeah, whatever, I'll believe it when I see it. And then, I'm seeing progress pictures of the ring, and I'm like, what the fuck? It's actually happening.
They're doing it. And that was really...
I was like, wow, this is a thing.
That was the first time that I realised that Jack Wallace was a well-off... was financially well off, and when he wanted to do something such as building a wrestling ring, he was actually able to do it.
I was like, this is dad of the century.
Yeah, if I wanted to build a wrestling ring, I would be flatly refused. Like the base that we built with the tires and everything, that was as far as my dad would go. We weren't allowed to do anything that was permanent or anything like that. Especially because around the time that we wanted to start building the base, first we were getting a pool put in, and then the remaining part of the backyard my dad was getting a shed put in, so there was no room for it. So
Right, yeah.
we very nearly didn't get that, except that we were allowed to put the ring at a family friend's house. Anyway, they start building the ring. What's next? What?
Well, I guess the ring's built, it's ready, and the ICWS boys are going over to be a part of it, and I was considering being a part of it, and I guess there was a point where Jack and Chris had a fight, and that led to Jack saying to Chris he's not welcome.
Oh.
And I'm like, you guys already have this much problem, these many problems, this early on, and it hasn't even begun yet. Do you need help running this thing? I'm older, I'm experienced. If you need some pressure off you, Jack, I can help. It was just an offer of help. And basically, from the get-go, it was going to be me and Jack kind of like working together on it, you know? As I've told before, when I was coming up with the booking and all that stuff, I'd find out here and there that somehow Monet knew one of my ideas. And somehow Jacob had found out. So I knew Jack was just telling the guys, and as soon as that happened, I cut him off. Which is unfortunate, but if I couldn't trust him to keep the information to himself, which is a big part of how I like to book, I like to keep surprises secret, then I had to kind of cut Jack out of that situation.
And not only that, but the best way to stop people from disagreeing with your booking decisions is just to not tell them.
Yeah.
Until it's about to happen, and
Exactly.
then they don't have as much of an opportunity to...
No, but that's just what happened. It was just a situation with Chris and Jack. I was like, don't kick your friend out. Let's fix this first. Bring him back in. I'll help you run this thing if you can't fucking get along with one another, because who's going to listen to fuck a bunch of teenagers? If Jack was in charge of this thing, Chris was in charge of this thing, there's no way that would work with Alex and Dan and Ice and Chaos and me coming in. We're not going to listen to these guys who don't know anything about wrestling.
I don't even think... Not
that they didn't know anything about wrestling.
I was used to running things as well. Like, I would have probably been like, well, why am I...
Yeah.
I probably would have been maybe a little bit more cooperative because I didn't really care. Like, I was just happy to sort of like...
But I saw this as a big opportunity for all of us. And I didn't want it to be ruined because, like, it's being run by a couple of teenage guys who don't really know how to ride a wrestling show or fill out a card, instead just doing cool matches and booking things that way. I mean, you asked them about how EBW was booked and all that stuff, and... I mean, they were going to put the title on Tim Justice, let's be honest there, okay? So,
Yeah,
are we going to do this watch-along or not, DJ? Because
Yeah,
everyone's
yeah.
getting a bit bored, I think, at this point.
Wow.
Already nearly 8 minutes in. We're going to do this watch-along.
Yeah,
Are you ready?
Yeah, let's do it.
So, is that a sufficient answer?
Yeah, well, I thought that people should know why you're all of a sudden in charge of the fucking Fed.
I'm in
Like,
charge of the Fed because
you
he
know.
needed help because he couldn't do it himself.
Fuck me for trying to be thorough, hey? Like,
You were being thorough, but... You know,
just put it on, man. You're wasting
all right,
time.
I'm
It's
not
already
wasting
been like
time.
7 minutes.
You're
man.
wasting time. All
Seriously,
right.
dude.
Everyone, if you're ready to watch right now, click on that link, WZWA Road to Ruin 2012. We're going to get underway in just one moment. And I want you all to press play in 5, 4, 3,
Now.
2, 1, now.
I said now slightly earlier to try to confuse people. I don't think it worked.
So the show's beginning. I'm in the ring. For whatever reason.
And extraordinary.
For whatever reason, my entrance was cut out, Ryan. I don't understand why.
I don't mind that.
But I'm in the ring and I'm welcoming everyone to the show.
Yeah.
I'm talking about, in wrestling, you can go down a road wild. You can go down a highway to hell, but it could always lead to one place, and that's a road to ruin. Something stupid like that.
Anything could theoretically be a road to ruin.
Exactly.
Like, you could become addicted to fucking caramello koalas.
Look at me. Look at me. Look how young I look.
Yeah. Yeah, you
I've
do.
got a little haircut. I've got short hair. It's weird, right?
It is pretty weird. It's like...
When that NWA shirt fit me.
It almost looks like in your everyday life you're like a IT consultant. Or
Yeah, I
something.
look like a bit of a nerd.
Like you work for fucking like you work for some financial, like H&R Block, you know.
I think I'm looking pretty fresh. Very thin, very young.
Got the NWO shirt, got the leather jacket.
I mean, I don't know what I'm rambling on about at this stage.
The coolest fucking guy at the party in 1998. That's who you are.
Wearing Lynx Africa.
Lynx Africa. Did you get that Lynx for Christmas? Like, was it in one of those?
In a pack with body wash?
Yeah.
Yeah, really annoying, eh?
Well, what fucking human being ever says, oh, you know what I'd love for Christmas? Not a new Xbox. I want one of them fucking Lynx body wash things.
No one ever wanted them.
Because I can't buy body wash and deodorant from every
Body wow.
Yeah, body wash.
And I think I've called out Big Red Ryan Tate here.
There he is.
He lost his contract match at the previous show, Frostbite,
Let me
to
just have a look.
Mykonos.
Am I in the crowd here?
I think that's you. That's you. You are there. You don't remember it. Cool. That's good. Look at the ropes. Not even taped.
Yeah. They look like they're looser as well.
And
they're
Ryan looks like a
because
member of the Beatles.
He sort of does. Yeah, he's always been like a good wrestler. You know, like I don't like the whole one glove thing that he's doing there. I feel like that kind of thing is like sort of what yarders do when they start out. They're sort of trying to find something to.
I was so thin, bro.
You still look exactly the same.
No,
what are you
I don't.
fucking talking?
No, I'm a fucking pile of shit right
Take
now.
off your shirt right now. We'll do push-ups.
No,
Let's see.
let's not do it.
Yeah. I don't
So what's happening here, DJ, is I'm giving Ryan a contract anyway, despite the fact he lost the contract match at the previous show.
And you're the one that says Amanda didn't.
And it's on the condition that he fights Mikanos at the next show on a rematch. And
so
he fights Dark Ice right here, right now.
It's just crazy to think, looking at Ryan there, like, where he would end up, 5 years later.
Exactly.
Totally different. I like that at least the turnbuckle pads sort of resemble turnbuckle pads.
Yeah.
For probably the only time.
Looks like they only had enough tape to tape half of the bottom rope.
Why would you, if you're going to tape ring ropes, why would you just buy like 2 rolls and think that that would be enough, It's like an investment. You buy like 12 rolls, you make sure that you've got enough.
Yeah, exactly. And here we go, bro. The Suburban Nightmare Dark Ice.
The big man. There he is. There he is. Classic Ice with the fucking classic white hockey mask, the classic boots.
Got any questions for me yet, DJ?
Well, I'm just sort of soaking it in. But what I want to know is, like, so here we are in the second show. We're still obviously in the embryonic stages of the booking. You've just started it. Things are just getting underway. Like, you see, I noticed there, like, there's the ref coming out there. Instead of being in the ring already. That's something we didn't really do. Alright, so let's hear about this. Obviously, you needed a reason to give Ryan the contract because you didn't just want to go back on your previous angle for no reason.
Yeah.
So you've obviously said if you can beat this guy, you get the contract. Why was Dark Ice that guy? What was it that you thought, this should be the match?
Well, this is happening because when I took over, the first thing was, what are some fresh matches we've never seen before? Ice had never wrestled Ryan. I thought this would be a big test for Ryan. He'd already gone through a really good match with Mitch, and I thought it would help him to work with someone like Ice, And
you can see... Yeah, continue.
But yeah, like that was pretty much it. It was just... Let's get some fresh matchups that never happened in ICWS. Let's, get them out there and see what they can do with one another, and I thought it would be good for Ryan.
Now, if we're turning our attention back to the actual match here, what we're seeing here is what they call, I don't want to sound sort of pretentious or whatever, but what we're seeing here is actually some psychology. You've got 2 guys that are of 2 different sizes, and Ice so far has really been able to overpower Ryan as he should.
So look at this, it's simple psychology, isn't it? They're doing the big man, little man thing. It's a simple thing. And look, he's using
drop
his
kick to the leg, drop toe hold into the turnbuckles. It makes sense. And these kind of performances are why guys like Ryan ended up becoming as good as they did because they got it.
You can tell already, like he's having a hard time kind of finding himself with a bump.
You can see the stuff that he's doing is like, you know, like it's solid.
He's still learning how to bounce off the ropes. You can tell, like he's still not comfortable with it yet.
I think in general he's still not quite comfortable being in the ring at all. Yeah. It's like you can still see that sort of tentativeness. Nice little suplex there, right in the center of the ring. This is what I never got about why people like in your house, well, not so much in your house, but people from some of the eastern states feds would shit on us. Like, our bumps and stuff. All right, going for the smoke slam. Reverses.
Yeah, keep going.
Russian leg sweep.
You don't need to commentate the match. Just keep
it's talking. Just a natural instinct.
Yeah, well, don't do it. Just keep going with it.
So, like they would always comment and say that we sort of weren't as good as them, weren't as crisp, but like our stuff made sense if you like.
Exactly.
So this isn't the best wrestling. It's not the cleanest. Like I don't want to say that it's bad, but it's not the cleanest yet because it's early days. It's still early days in the Fed, but
you got to get out of the habit of commentating, bro.
Yeah, I know, man. I know. It's just automatic because I've not seen it. I don't know what's going to happen.
You're not Corey McCracken, okay?
Yeah, I know. No, it was Kevin McCracken.
Oh, Kevin McCracken. So Corey McCracken was.
So we got. Like, is this a hardcore match?
No, it's not.
He's just gone and gotten a weapon.
This is what I'm trying to get over here. The Ice character
doesn't give a fuck.
Abide by the rules.
Yeah. So, and I think that if
what we're doing here, DJ, is establishing Dark Ice's character. He doesn't abide by the rules. Ryan's trying to abide by the rules because that's the kind of person he was.
So we're trying to sort of... The question that we're answering with this show is, who are these people, essentially? Who are they?
And Ryan's this guy. He's a rising star. He's fresh. He's out to get some respect and show that he can hang in there with some of the top dogs in WA yarding, and Ice is certainly one of them. But one thing I wanted to do with Ice from day one, DJ, was kind of like establish him as more of a bigger name than I think he might have felt he was in IC Not that his IC run wasn't very good, but he was kind of in the shadow of chaos a lot of the time, and I really wanted to kind of push him up the card a bit more and make him a bit more of a main event type guy, because I saw that in him. He was getting so much better every event. Think about matches with Knuckles, matches with Mikanos, matches with Del Cano. He had like top quality, like main event style matches in IC So
like 2011, 2012, like there was a period of time that we're currently watching where he just couldn't really have a bad match.
Yeah.
So here's a person he's never wrestled before and stuff, and here he is having this great match with him. And,
look at Monet, how young he looks.
Fucking young cunt.
I'm pretty sure that's Ryan's sister on camera.
Yep.
How little is she? She would have been like fucking 12 there or some shit.
The thing that I wanna sort of ask, and I'll probably bring it up a couple of times as the card goes on. You know, this is the first event that you're physically at because you weren't in attendance for the previous show. What are you thinking of the actual in-ring at this stage? Early days. Obviously, you're happy with this. What were you feeling about sort of? How's everyone going to adapt to the fact that it's ropes? Did you have any thoughts about the actual in-ring stuff, or was that just sort of going to be secondary to?
I mean, when I watched this back here, I don't know exactly what I was thinking at the time. But I know watching here, I probably would have thought at some point the guys will start to kind of find their way as far as bouncing off those ropes. All we've really added is ropes and doing things off the ropes and doing things in the corner and off the top rope. But we already had the ladder in ICWS, so we still had that kind of thing. But
isn't it interesting?
I knew people would adapt very soon, into WZWA's run with the ring. I knew eventually, everyone would start to get it a little bit more. But, from the outset, the first match that I'm seeing at a WZWA show is Ice versus Ryan, and I think it's a pretty good match so far. So I think whilst I was there, I was pretty happy with, what was going on between these two. I mean, I think he's going to go for a leg drop off the second rope here.
Yeah, that was actually
really good. Yeah.
But
and then boom, awesome.
So what we're looking at, I think the thing that stands out to me with this match is, you can really see that both guys are into it. That's a huge thing because as we got a few years sort of down the line, you'd have those occasional shows where people would be hungover or they couldn't really be fucked. You can really see that there's a lot of, passion from both guys here.
Yeah.
And you can see that even though there's a couple of, kinks, here and there, that they're sort of working through them. They're not being disheartened if they sort of mess anything up.
And I can tell, I'm starting to unlock memories now. I remember saying to Ice, get over the fact that you fucking break the rules. Get over the fact that you don't give a shit what the referee has to say. You're Dark Ice, you don't give a flying fuck. And he's doing it. He's pushing the referee around. He's trying to throw weapons in the ring. This is I'm pretty proud of Ice watching back at this.
Well, I think, I still maintain, Ice, unfortunately hadn't had a chance to win the ICWS title. It's easy for me to obviously say that, we would have put it on him. And, I don't know, maybe the Zeppelins might have disagreed, maybe they feel the same way. But in my opinion, what I wanted to do was to put it onto him. And then, eventually, maybe one or two people down the line. See, matches like this, I definitely think that his feud with Dan and his matches with, Lowrider and stuff like that, they made him the kind of wrestler that can have these great matches with these smaller guys.
Yeah.
And the smaller guy looked credible against him because he wasn't afraid to sort of sell.
Yeah, he's good at selling. He's good at selling for him. Even with Ryan's offense in this match, it still looked realistic. You know what I mean?
I've never really thought of this analogy before, but Dark Ice is really like our Bam Bam Bigelow or our Big Boss Man.
And he's just been disqualified now.
He's finally been disqualified
in a DQ.
No,
and here we go.
This is the first of
Little
a
Coon.
million ref bumps.
Little Coon,
little
gets
fucking
nailed.
Coon,
and Dark Ice getting over.
So we've done two things.
That is a rule
here.
breaker.
We've done two things. We've gotten Dark Ice over and made him look strong, and we've also not had Ryan take the loss. It's definitely different from the philosophy of ICWS, which mostly had clean wins. I distinctly remember booking ICWS, it would be like, well, this person can't lose, and then if neither guy could lose, we might change the match completely and not have that match.
And I'd use the disqualification thing as a way to get out of a situation where Ryan can't beat Ice at this point. I don't want to beat Ryan at this point with Ice, so we got to go down that road, unfortunately, just in this matchup here, because it makes sense for what's going on right now with Ryan getting his contract in WZWA.
And I think, as well, the fact that there is ropes and turnbuckles, like a proper ring, allows us to do, allowed for booking decisions like that. Because if you could do a DQ finish in ICWS, but it's on the base. So you always sort of... You wanted to have clean matches because you didn't want to confuse people. You couldn't have a rope break and a count to 5 because there were no ropes. So now now with the full ring, you can sort of have these matches to more of their full potential.
Exactly, yeah.
And sort of have more options. And then now here we see... So what was the reasoning behind let's have Mitch be the guy to come out and... So there's a two-pronged question. Why Mitch? Because I know that you're a big fan of his, as I was, and he's probably someone that you want to prominently position. Why Mitch? Why have him come out at this match in particular?
Because of the previous show.
Why take away... Why put more heat on Ryan as well? Why beat him down further?
Because previous show, Mikanos defeated Ryan Tate. Okay, he's eliminated all the fucking entrances in the show. Which
so there are no entrances, which means we can't sort of do context.
But fuck, I don't know why he cut out the entrances. Long story short, it doesn't matter, bro. It doesn't matter.
Right.
Long story short, Mikanos beat him at the previous show. Mikanos knows he has to face him at the next show for his championship. He's feuding with Ryan now because I've got to put Ryan with Mikanos for the next few months because I know it'll help him get better. Anytime you prolong work with someone like Mitch, that person's going to get better, immediately. I don't understand why he cut out the entrances, Ryan.
It's like a good solid several minutes that we don't get to sort of spend talking.
Yeah, I don't understand why he would do it,
but here we go. We'll set the table for this. We got a comedy match. I know that you're not I can't really say that you're not a giant fan of the Mask guys, but I definitely think that a lot of us weren't really a fan of the Mask characters as they were often used in ICWS and WZWA as well later on. I think the whole thing of doing these sort of generic comedy-style matches, I was never really a fan of it. Obviously, over the years, we managed to have some good, some great matches out of it. But what's the feeling here? Is this the sort of thing... This doesn't feel like something that you yourself would have booked.
This is a Jack thing.
It feels like something that you... Yeah, that you
Jack wanted to do a match between him and EQG at this show. And like, I get it, like they just want to have a bit of fun or whatever. But when Jack made his entrance, he had silly string.
He just hit him over the head with a newspaper,
and he was shooting the silly string as he's walking out.
Yeah,
to the beat of the music, and I was standing there watching him, and I was thinking, like, what have I got myself into here? Like, this is going to be a lot of work. I don't know why, but that's the thought that I had when I saw him make the Papasido entrance, and I'm like, I don't know if this is going to work.
But I find that to be an interesting, because, like, XCW was... Like, WZWA is almost like a hybrid of XCW and ICWS. It's sort of like...
Yeah.
Got that more serious wrestling product from ICWS, and then the not as serious... Like, XCW always used to sort of parody, like, the soap opera aspect of wrestling.
Yeah.
This seems like something that's in the XCW wheelhouse, and yet here you are saying that you were sort of, like, cringing at it a little bit.
Well, I just wanted to let them just have a bit of fun.
It was over nice and fast. It's only been a few minutes.
Over nice and quickly. EKG goes over, and obviously that would lead to... this whole resolution thing, which I wasn't too fond of at the time, but it ended up not turning out too bad in the end. But yeah, we needed some masked characters on the show because the roster wasn't very stacked at the time, so we needed masked characters in order to fill the roster a bit and make the shows go a bit longer.
Yeah. Just sort of, that's also partially, a lot of people who don't really get yarding might sort of be sitting there going, well, if you don't have that many wrestlers, why extend the card by putting people under a mask? But I think a lot of people...
Well, I think now we're getting entrances.
I think this is more of a segment than...
Oh no, this is Midday Rocker versus me, so...
So... I think a lot of people need to understand that these backyard wrestling events are social occasions as well, and you want the actual show to go on for a while so that people can hang out and catch up and everything like that. I'm going to take the opportunity...
If it's over in, 2 hours, then it's like, oh, well, we've got so much more left of the day.
You might as well just show up and
I remember the first XCW show, I don't want to sidebar too long, but it was over in, 2 hours, and by the time it was up, because we started at 10, by the time it was over, it was, 12:30. So we ended up doing, this... another show, basically, which we ended up kind of ignoring in the history books of XCW. It's been known as the Phantom Warzone, because we used to have shows called Warzone between our big events, but we pretended it wasn't a part of what the first show was, but, that's what happened. I realised, okay, the show didn't go that long, next time I'll make sure we put more matches on so it lasts the whole day.
So we got a bit of downtime here. We just had a mask match. Now we've got this match.
Me forgetting to put my gloves on.
So, first of all, I want to just quickly get it out of the way. What was the motivation behind you doing this match? Did you just feel like, I'm going to establish myself, do a little bit of a squash? Or were you just in the mood where you just couldn't be fucked wrestling yet?
No, it was, from memory, I believe I just put myself against Midday Rocker because, I wanted to kind of feel out the ring and see what it was like and see how I'd go. And that's pretty much all there is to it. I actually thought at this point this would probably be the last time I'd use the Midday Rocker character because as you take a look at it, it's just this mask over the top of a beanie, and it's Jacob. So I didn't think that. Look, there's not really much to the character, is there? I don't know what makes him a midday rocker. But obviously, as time went on, that evolved, and we saw the backyard rockers with him in the afternoon rocker and all that stuff. So it did have a point in the end, but at first I thought this would probably be the only time I booked this character. But, you know, as time went on, I realised, okay, maybe I'll use him a bit more as like an enhancement kind of guy, like a guy that just put over, you know, regular wrestlers.
Let's talk as well about... Had you begun to get... I'm pretty sure that's Tim as the ref there.
Yeah.
Is it? Or is that...
Yeah, no, it's Tim.
Yeah. So, was there much resistance from the WZWA crew at this point surrounding the booking, or...
No, I think at this point, it was kind of like my first show to see how things went, really. And at this point, everyone was pretty, I think... interested to see what was going to happen, because it was kind of like a new era almost. But look, I think I look pretty fucking comfortable out there.
Yeah, you know? I think so. I think you look like you're in shape. You look like you're...
I was blown.
Yeah,
I was blown to fucking smithereens, dude. Like,
how about a story we haven't heard before, man?
Like when I go to pick up Jacob for this fucking Outsider's Edge, I'm like, oh my god, how am I going to fucking pick this kid up? It's not like he's that heavy, but fucking hell.
And you can, I mean, there's not really very much sort of meaty, stuff to delve into just yet. But, I guess I'll ask you then, how, you said you look like you feel, how do you remember feeling the first time that you sort of...
Had my first match?
Yeah, got in the ring.
Yeah, no, I was excited. I thought, that's just a nice little start to things, and, I was looking forward. I don't think at this point I really knew what I was doing at the next show for myself and what match I was going to have yet. But I'm just establishing myself as the commissioner and all that stuff in this event, and my alliance with Alex, I'm sure, which is to come.
I always liked the term commissioner as opposed to general manager.
I hate the general manager. I think commissioner sounds cooler. The commissioner.
Well, because commissioner is an actual thing.
As I said there to the camera, Midday Rocker, won't see him again. I think he was at the next event.
It looks like we're getting entrances now, so it'll be interesting. We had entrances for the first match too.
Yeah, that's because I was already the rig though, so...
So there's the first appearance of Rex Regum. Look how young he looks.
Yeah, he's fucking tiny.
He just slapped me in the face.
Did he? Did he even know you that well?
No.
See, that was typical Chris. That
probably
overstating his.
That probably would have
being too overfamiliar with people he doesn't know that well yet. He doesn't need to be trying to slap you in the face.
That probably would have bugged me at the time.
It would have pissed you off because you were doing pro wrestling stuff at the time, and he fucked that up.
But now I just would find that funny, because obviously he's one of my best mates now. But
it would have annoyed you that this kid that you don't know.
Probably. I think it would have annoyed anyone. I think it would have annoyed anyone getting
made a fucking fool out of you in front of everyone.
I probably didn't feel that. I probably just thought,
he's talking about Kilowatt Chaos being too much of a pussy, and now he's going to issue a contest.
See, the thing I've always
not a challenge, a contest.
The thing I've always liked about the Rex Regum character, and I don't think that this would have come across if it was a different person besides Chris, is he's calling Chaos a pussy, and your natural response is to say, oh, well, fuck, dude, you're just going to get the shit kicked out of you. But Chris doesn't back down from a fight with anyone, man. He's a tough cunt, man. I think even if it was real, he wouldn't be scared.
You have to admire the balls on the guy to go out there and talk on the microphone the way that he does, that's pretty ballsy. Even if he's in character or whatever, he's pretty ballsy to be going out there and talking confidently like that and calling Chaos a pussy and trying to establish himself as best he can, despite the fact he knows he's about to get jobbed the fuck out by the Suburban Nightmare Dark Ice.
But that kind of healthy ego is good for a wrestler. I think as long as it doesn't verge into sort of self-mark territory where you believe in your own hype, I think it's perfectly fine to have a healthy ego.
For sure.
So, second appearance of the show by Dark Ice. It's clear that you're trying to position him as a really prominent cornerstone talent in the WZWA. That's again why I'm kind of comparing him to Bam Bam Bigelow and stuff, because he's just that guy. He's like that big guy that looks credible in just about any situation you put him in, and he can be counted to fucking have the match and take the bumps.
I mean, I was going with him, man. I mean, I knew that at some point he would be the champion. I already knew that at this point. I knew he was definitely going to be the champion at some point. I was going that way. I was going that direction. He just needed to get through these first, year or 6 months to a year of establishing himself before I'd finally give him that, big moment. Obviously, the psoriasis really interrupted all those plans, but he still kind of ended up becoming champion when I was planning on him becoming champion anyway, so...
And so we can see it's a very physical style of match being wrestled by both guys, which we would come to obviously, know.
I think he's making Chris pay his dues here. He's saying like you've been wrestling with your little mates in the trampoline all this time. Now you're going to actually have a proper match with a fucking man. Like,
so
Us is a man at this stage, Like this is pretty ballsy for Chris to be up for the challenge.
He doesn't care. I think. Are you at this point appraising the guys and kind of looking and seeing what is everyone? Because if I'm you and I'm looking at Chris, I'm sort of thinking, in ring wise, he's good, man. Like everything that he's doing,
except for that shot with the skateboard where he kind of stopped.
I don't think he knew. I think that was a miscommunication.
Right, must have been, yeah.
Because it was like he didn't.
It's all about the experience, right?
Yeah. Shit like that still happens.
But I'm certainly appraising them. I'm certainly figuring out who's going in what spot, and I'm ranking them to myself.
Because if I'm looking, man, I think definitely until the rise of Jacob and then Monet a bit later than that, I think Chris was like the standout. And then it's interesting. It's like the originals, all four of them had their kind of renaissance period at different times. I definitely think that Chris was the first person to sort of stand out.
I would disagree with that, but keep going with your point.
Well, I'm going to want to know why you would disagree, but in my opinion, and Chaos's opinion, and pretty much most of our opinions, we all felt that Chris was really good.
He was doing very good, especially in the hardcore matches with Ice and Chaos.
And I felt personally that nobody else on the roster from either Fed was bumping as well as him, or had that natural kind of ability. The way that he did.
He's a natural, for sure.
There were people that were probably doing as good as him, but not as quickly as he was able to do it.
I personally found Jacob to take to all of this like a duck to water. He got through the first few shows, but then I started throwing him in there against the heavy hitters, your Dark Ices, your Chaoses, your Mikanoses. I was really fucking happy with how Jacob... established my idea of the hardcore superstar at the following show. Like, he took the idea I had and he made it his own, and he had a clear defined looking character who looked a bit more larger than life than just the kid with the curly hair and the cargo pants and the band t-shirt. He took to the idea really well and he fucking owned it, and it fucking fit.
Yeah, because he understood that this is a persona.
Yeah, and he needed something extra.
And I think that...
And I knew he had that natural ability. He reminded me of, Del Cano, who was just naturally good.
But that's why I think that Chris is so good. Why I don't understand how...
Chris hadn't figured out the character part of it yet.
But Chris is a character already. He already is a character. He's not he doesn't need to do what Jacob had to do to, come out of that shell. Because it was already there.
Of course, of course. But my point is that I think Jacob's character was more clearly defined as a fucking a gimmick almost. And
but
that's what I wanted more from Chris. That's why I put him with Ice.
You told him to do that, though. You gave him that character.
Yes.
So I think that's also he's had a slight advantage over Chris in that respect.
Probably because I saw more in Jacob than I did at Chris at the time. Because I'll be honest with you, Chris was being a fucking asshole.
And I want to talk about that now while his match is going on, because obviously. He's one of my best friends.
I love him. I love him.
Oh, we all love him, but I know that you two had your disagreements in the past.
Well,
I want to talk about sort of how that was manifesting itself at this early stage.
Well, from day dot, he wanted to be a top guy.
Well, of course he wanted to be a top guy.
But like, you know, the attitude that came along with that wasn't appreciated. The way that he talked to me. And Jacob and Luke and Jack would always say, you know, he's bitching about you behind your back. And then he'd bitch about Jacob to Monet. And then he'd bitch about Monet to Jacob. Like, he was constantly fucking talking shit about his friends all the time. It happened. Like, they'll all fucking attest to it too. And I needed to figure out a way to fucking get this kid to just know his place and stop talking to me and acting the way that talking to me the way that he was and acting the way that he was. And I did that in the form of putting him with Ice as Ice's protege, because I knew he'd listen to Ice when Ice would have something to say. And Ice would probably keep him in check, and that was my idea behind putting them together after this match that they have, is that, you know, this is going to be something that'll help Chris, you know, get his attitude set straight, but also be under the Dark Ice learning tree, which at this stage, I don't know what that learning tree would be, but that would help Ice get better, because now he's in that role of teaching someone else, and it will make him get better.
Well, you teach people how to do stuff, you know, you get better.
Exactly.
Like, I you know, everyone, like, in yachting, and I always appreciated it, but everyone sort of looked at me as someone that was kind of, like, really experienced and sort of had a lot of knowledge and stuff like that.
Of course.
I guess, theoretically, I have a lot of knowledge, but I was never actually, like, as good as most people in the ring, obviously because of my cerebral palsy and stuff.
Yeah.
Like, what I'm seeing here is some people that know how to move around the ring. They understand what they're trying to do. You know, I'm seeing a lot of stuff that makes sense as far as he just tapped. He just tapped out.
I don't think he did.
He just fucking tapped out. Rewind it, man.
Is the referee knocked out? No.
No. He just pointed.
I don't know what fucking happened there, but it wasn't a tap out.
I don't know. No, it was. He fucking tapped out, man. I saw it. I just looked at him.
I don't know why he's attacking the ref right now.
Because the ref didn't call the tap. So maybe the ref was like, "Oh, you can't tap because it's no DQ."
It's an SPWS deathmatch.
Okay.
That's what it is.
All right, that's tap
out.
And you saw Chris take a really hard elbow first bump onto the screen door. That's a
the psychology there might have been Ice tapped out to confuse Rex, because Rex wouldn't have remembered the rules.
I don't know.
Rex would have relinquished
that.
the hold because of it. Maybe that's what he was doing. Oh, this was sick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very good.
Rex has taken a lot of fucking bumps here. This is him, like, you know, despite what I said before, he's really trying to prove to himself, prove to everyone right now that he's willing to pay his dues by going in there and having a full hardcore match with someone who's iconic with hardcore wrestling and yarding, which is Dark Ice.
My feelings about Chris were always, you know, this is a person who really fucking cares about wrestling. That's why I first started getting along with him, because he gives a shit. You can see even in this man, look how hard he's working to, like, do a good job.
Yeah. No, he is, for sure.
And so I also sort of want to, you know, touch on a few other things. Like, so as this is going along, you've laid out the first few initial shows of, you know, a basic idea, I imagine, of what you wanted to do. You're appraising people. You're going to start shifting people around based on their performances earlier on. Who, at the moment, I mean, you said Jacob, and we know that Ice was going to be positioned as a top guy. Was there anyone else that you were thinking, man, this person should be considered, you know? Who did you think that your sort of top 4 or 5 guys were going to be early on? Because we know that rotation of guys would change over the years, you know, as people moved up and down and stuff. Mm-hmm. So we're right at the beginning. Who's the standouts to you?
I already knew at this stage that Lowe was going to be my babyface champion one day. So I already had made my mind up about Lowe. I had made my mind up about that before Frostbite even happened. I was going to go with him no matter what. But he was away on holiday for the first 3 shows of the ring, so he wasn't there. But I knew that once he got back, I was going to go straight to him and straight to building him towards, you know, something going on with me. other than that, obviously Alex was going to be like my pet project almost, to put in with me and establish him as one of the top heels in WZWA. Obviously, as I said before, Jacob, but Ice, yes, but also Mikanos. Like, I really feel like the 2012 run Mikanos had was probably the best I ever booked him.
Yeah.
But the only issue with that was that for some reason Mitch was never happy about it.
It's really interesting.
Which I'm sure we'll talk about when we get to his match.
Because I always felt like Mitch's ICWS run was basically one of the best runs in ICWS anyone ever had. Like, it was really good. But I always found it fascinating watching WZWA, just how different the two products became. And then, if you put a different person in charge, how they view the same person and how they pick it. So saying, because I know that I heard some people make a few comments and stuff earlier on about, they were happier in WZWA because of the way that they were being used. They might have been more prominently positioned or whatever. But in WZWA, not everyone was at the top. There are people in WZWA who never had a top spot. Just like there were people in ICWS. So, and are you sort of thinking, watching an SPWS rules match, did you have an inkling of sort of how prominent the kind of the hardcore stuff would become? Because I know that in ICWS, like, we did hardcore, but we used them, we sort of had an old school thing as far as gimmick matches. We only did gimmick matches when it was necessary, and yet it seems like WZWA had a large...
I don't know what it was. I was going for a bit of an ECW vibe. I wanted hardcore to be quite prominent throughout the federation. I felt like, backyard wrestling didn't make sense with too many just straight wrestling matches. I thought, I don't know, I wanted to make it more of a hardcore-based federation, but still pay respect to straight-up singles stuff, when it's important for it to be straight-up singles stuff. But, yes, I wanted to go down that road. I don't know why. It was just what I was influenced by at the time. I find that
surprising, though, because you're not really a hardcore guy.
No, I mean, I just liked it. I just wanted to try it, I suppose.
Because I was always a big fan of the matches, the hardcore matches, as long as I didn't have to be in them, right? Like, I thought, as a fan, I really enjoyed... Like, if I knew that Rex or Ice was going to be in a hardcore match, I was always keen, man. Because you were always going to get a great match. And, like, I have to personally say, are you feeling at this point that this match is going on a bit too long, though?
We probably should have reached its finish when he chokeslammed him onto that door.
Yeah, that was the spot right there. Because, not even that it's bad, but it's just kind of worn out its welcome a little bit, right? Like,
yeah, but, once again, that's probably a part of the...
like the learning
curve. Yeah. I mean, they'll get there, obviously, as they eventually do. But he kicks out there, and it is going a bit long.
Pretty shitty camera work as well. What was your? I know you always had issues with the camera and like the production and stuff. What was your sort of reaction? You would watch back the footage, and sort of see all the shaky camera and.
I'd get fucking pissed off, yeah.
Naturally,
I'd be like, it's not fucking hard to just hold the fucking camera still and look through the camera as you're filming. Don't hold the camera and look away, look over the top of the camera at the action. Look through the camera, because what you're filming is what the viewer's going to fucking see. And I used to fucking scream sometimes when I would be sitting at home and I would see that someone missed out on something fucking important because they weren't filming properly. And it happened all the fucking time. And I wish we had two cameras at all times, but it was fucking difficult in order to do that. We didn't have the luxury of two cameras.
I mean, obviously, they're filming because they're trying to capture this whole Ice hiding under the ring thing. Smart move by Chris there. You see he jumped up and down trying to create noise and stuff like that, trying to flush him out. Smart idea.
But I don't know what this story that they're doing adds to the match. I mean,
they
were there. They were almost there at the climax of the match, and now we're kind of like airing it out a little bit.
Now we've kind of created this now he's sort of doing like the heel thing of just chilling there, but he's past that point story-wise in the match. Like,
yeah,
they're
like
past that.
it should have obviously.
This whole segment of the match was well done physically, but it should have been
swapped
around.
Oh, that was fucking pretty crazy.
I fucking always loved that dive from Dark Ice, man. That was always a huge favorite of, like, one of my favorite spots he ever did, because it was just like no sort of technical technique behind it, but it was just like throwing his body weight. And I feel like that's what a dive should look like, right?
Yeah.
If you're a bigger guy and you're going to do a dive, it should be like what Dark Ice did, where you're going, I don't care what happens to me on the landing, I'm just going to hurl my weight at this person.
Exactly.
You know, if Chris did a dive, you could expect it to be a little bit more...
Like, I love the way Raven did a dive over the ropes onto someone through a table. Like, he just flung himself. He didn't do it perfectly. He didn't do a perfect somersault. He just flung himself over the top rope and just smashed through them any way that he landed.
Yeah. Which
so
makes
hopefully
sense.
At some point this is going to see its finish.
Yeah, this is going on for a long time. I'm enjoying it, but it's
good,
like,
but it's
only so long we can talk about these two guys as well. It's interesting. We said we were going to have like heaps of fun, and there has been some funny stuff, but mostly it's just been solid analysis. And I always find that shit funny. Like, that we were like, oh man, this is going to be so fun watching one of these early shows. Like, yeah, we're just going to pick it apart. We end up just having like a civilized like discussion about it. Like,
yeah, well, you know, that's the way it's ended up, hasn't it, cunt?
Oh, Van Rexinator.
Yeah.
I just called that. I made up that name right then.
I don't know. I'm really hoping the finish comes soon.
I think it will be. I think we're about to see him.
But yeah. So yeah, look, to touch on what I was talking about before with Rex, you know, yes, I didn't see him as I saw Jacob. Yes, that's true. I probably saw him pretty neck and neck with Monet.
See, and, I really feel like that's unfair, man. Like,
what do you mean?
I'm not like having a go, but I felt this way back then. I felt like you weren't giving Chris like a fair shake.
Why would I give someone a fair shake if they're being a cunt to me?
Okay, well,
I
I didn't necessarily know about all that shit at the time, but what I'm saying, what I was looking at,
you're too busy undermining me trying to get the booking for yourself and Eli. So fuck you.
That would have been so shit, man, if we had ended up.
How could you guys have done that when you were fucking schwa wrestlers? Oh, what a pain in the ass.
I don't remember the motivate. Maybe we were indoctrinated into the cult of schwa at the time, and we would just.
Oh, right, yeah, probably.
I would have to say that was.
I just can't believe you dogged me, bro. You dogged me. Fucking dogged me, bro.
Like, I would never do anything like that these days as well. I'd be like,
I bet it was
man.
Eli getting in your ear.
It probably, yeah, probably. I think it was, because I remember distinctly, like, I remember that's what my opinion was. I was like, man, we should take this over. But then, once I actually started watching the shows, I was
here we go.
Happy with what you were doing. So, like, what was I going to say?
Slam off the top rope, that's got to be the end.
Your fucking little barb got in the way of a decent point that I had.
Sorry, dude.
So there's the finish.
Yeah, it's bullshit that I saw Monet and Rex as equal.
Oh, yeah.
Playing field.
So I can understand it now, sort of, obviously in hindsight, knowing the sort of problems you had with him.
Like, you can see
socially.
Yeah.
But, like, I remember thinking, man, he's better than Monet and Jack, and probably Jacob as well, at this point in time. Why isn't he the most prominently featured one of those four guys?
Well, you already have your answers.
Well, I haven't, but like I'm just saying that's.
I saw more from Jacob. Maybe Rex is a hair above Monet, ability-wise, but Monet had a better attitude. Yep.
So there you are, wearing the ref shirt.
Referee Crude.
There's no sound, so you're going to have to sort of fill us in on like what's going on.
Well, I'm coming out. I've got a ref shirt on. People are wondering why I have a referee shirt on, obviously.
Oh, fucking duh.
I'm booking Dan Zeplin versus Alex Stone for the very first time, and I've always wanted to see this match, so I want to have the best seat in the house. So I'm going to make myself the special guest referee.
So at this stage, you say you don't really know what you're doing with your own character.
No, I know. I'm aligning myself with Alex.
So you knew that you were going to go towards the whole Elite Alliance thing, and like
I already knew that. Yeah,
you knew that you were.
I knew it was going to be me and Alex. I knew that. So that's why I've put myself as the referee, because I'm going to fuck over Dan Zeplin. With the story being, my welcome to ICWS was interrupted by Dan fucking going after me, so I'm going to make his entrance into WZWA just as shit. That's the story.
See, I always liked
paying respect to past shit that's happened in backyard wrestling and not forgetting it.
I always thought that was good to do that, because I was like, the audience is the boys.
Yeah,
the boys know the history. Why not draw?
And to pretend that never happened is stupid.
Like, why not draw on that? Why not draw on that history?
It happened,
story
and it's as
rich?
important as what we're doing right here, right now.
Yeah,
all the history,
like it mattered.
It
mattered.
Yeah,
it mattered. Yeah. And you can see Alex there. Alex had started to come into his own already by this point in time. He'd already started to really sort of like rise up the ranks in ICWS. I know that we were really fucking impressed with him.
Yeah, like, he was a natural, dude. He was a fucking natural.
Especially, he was like a good showman as well. You know, he was one of those people that obviously, because of his music background and everything, he was a good, good persona, good character.
Yeah.
I'm noticing as well, there's a lot of, focus on promos and stuff like that. Was that something that was important to you to sort of get the guys being more vocal?
Got to establish everyone and their character. And Alex was always a good promo. Even if you gave him just a minute to talk, 40 seconds to talk, he would have something to say, and it would be something that meant something. And this is his first WCWA appearance, so I've got to kind of like get the character over to everyone and establish it. And obviously Dan is a well-known commodity at this point in backyard wrestling, so Dan doesn't need to cut a promo. But this is his first WCWA match as Dan Zeplin as well. They're both fighting for a contract. I was happy because I got Ryan versus Ice and Dan versus Alex, two matches that had never happened before in ICWS. Yeah. So this is fresh shit, fresh stuff. Who wouldn't be excited to see some fresh matches, you know? Because Alex was there maybe, about a year or so in ICWS, so he didn't really get to wrestle everyone.
I don't even think it was a year though. I think it was. It might have been.
Might have been just over a year, but
I remember. Yeah,
cold day in hell until fucking
whatever the most
the in your yard shit.
Yeah.
But there was a lot of ICWS guys he hadn't worked with there. Like, he hadn't worked with you, he hadn't worked with Zibby, he hadn't worked with Dan, he hadn't worked with Justin, he hadn't worked with Mitch. Like, there was a fuckload of guys. Like, he'd never wrestled a match against Three Dog. There's a heap of guys Alex never got to wrestle. Low, at that point, he hadn't wrestled Low. Like,
a lot of fresh matches to be...
Yeah, a lot.
The thing I always liked is that if you did a match in WZWA, it still would be a fresh match to do it in ICWS. Because it was going to be a different type of match, right?
That's true, and that's why I would always try and tick those matches off again. That's why Ice and Chaos were going to have a feud as they entered WZWA, because I wanted to get that out the way early so I could focus on other shit for them.
And you can see here, it may not be the most polished match in the world, but you can see that we got two people that are comfortable with each other. Obviously these guys are friends. So they've got a natural, chemistry. Just they seem to be really relaxed in the ring right now, seem to be taken to it quite easily.
Yeah.
You notice that they're both staying away from the ropes quite a lot. They really haven't, we just saw an Irish whip there. That's the first time anyone's used the ropes. Yeah. You can see Alex...
So maybe they're still in a habit of wrestling like they're on a base kind of thing, but, they'll get it eventually. They're already starting to...
Fucking hell, it took me 4 years to adapt to having ropes. Because I learned how to hit the ropes in a professional ring, but this was not a professional ring. This was you'd hit the ropes and you'd fucking fall through it. Yeah. It wasn't... You couldn't rely on the ropes.
It's because it was so low. I mean, look how low it is back then.
But you couldn't rely on the ropes either to actually sort of keep you in the ring. You had to sort of create your own bounce.
Yeah, exactly.
Whereas, like, in a professional ring, you still create the bounce, but the ropes actually would propel you back the other way. If you hit them, you would spring back.
Exactly. So I haven't seen this match in a long time, so it's pretty,
No, it's
cool for
nice.
me to,
I like
to
that jumping
sit
either.
back and watch this contest.
Yeah, it's very.
I mean, this is like us three right here. We're the three original Elite Alliance members, and this is kind of like the beginning of that whole story.
Yeah, it's very fresh, sort of looking back on it now. There's some more bad camera work there.
And I knew, like, with Dan, like, with him not getting the contract, the story would be, I didn't want Dan to have to wrestle every show because he was kind of, like, not in that mind frame at the time. So I knew, like, what would be happening after this would be a lot of interruptions in the shows from Dan Zeplin, trying to get his revenge on what I'd done to him in this match. And it would, it would all kind of come about pretty, like, interestingly, and Dan kind of coming across as a bit of a rebel, and I thought it was pretty, like, good for him and his character to do something, like, fresh like that.
Well, I think that Dan especially was probably relishing the chance to just sort of go there and wrestle and not kind of be the focus, because he was definitely the focus in ICWS, and, like, I know that his, like, he never really cared, like, whether or not he was, like, the top guy in ICWS. I know that it was, like, important to Chris, his brother, to sort of have him featured prominently, because Chris felt like he could rely on Dan. Obviously, Dan was always going to be there. But I think that Dan was probably, like, better suited to just being able to go out there and fucking wrestle. Well, I don't want to say better suited, because I think he did a great job as the top guy in ICWS. Like, I definitely think that he did a fantastic job.
Yeah.
But I also think that he was a lot more, like, relaxed in WZWA, and that he really...
It's because I didn't put the pressure on him to have to wrestle every single show. Like, he only really wanted to wrestle if it was important that he was having a match that day. The only time he knew that he had to kind of step up was when he was actually the heavyweight champion, because... and he knew that he wasn't going to be the champion for that long. He knew that he was more transitional, but when he was the champion, he was, 100% all in for those few months that he was, holding the belt.
Because he was champion.
Yeah, so, like, he knew that, with me coming up with that idea, that, he would have to kind of commit to those shows, and then after that we'll go back to what our original plan was, to just have him kind of wrestle, when it meant something. I think this match has gone pretty good so far, pretty back and forth.
Yeah, it's going good. I think, you can sort of see so far in the matches that we're watching, there's that point in which, like, you can sort of see when the guys start running out of spots and stuff like that. You can kind of see, it's not quite as polished as far as, like, filling in that like, dead air.
Yeah, exactly.
In between big spots.
Like there, maybe Alex might have fucking run out of a few ideas right here, right now, which is why he keeps pushing Dan down with his foot. Or maybe he's just working on the heel stuff, but, I'm sure, as time wears on, we would see matches take place later on, and it wouldn't feel like this.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. And I'm doing the big count right now.
Grab us a cider, bro. So, fucking... well, when you come back...
It's alright, I'm still here. I'm still looking.
You're still looking at the monitor. Is this going to set up... is there going to be an angle at the end of this match? Like, as far as you being the ref? I don't remember anything that happens, so...
Well, you have to wait and see.
Well, I don't know what questions to ask, cunt. Like, what do you think about... Oh!
Well, obviously, like, I turn on Dan, you know that.
I don't really remember that, eh? because I just remember Dan being in the Elite Alliance. So,
well, here we go. He's making his comeback now.
Yeah, he's making his comeback.
This is vintage Dan Zeplin. Vintage,
as Michael Cole always annoyingly
here
likes
we go.
to fucking say.
Devil Lock DET.
Yeah.
Or the
nice.
fuck you cunt, as he called it later on.
Fuck you, cunt. Yeah, because he
1, 2. Oh, he kicked out.
Because he was
but
mates
didn't
with
actually
Tommy.
kick
Did
out.
you know that, Tommy Taboo...
Did you notice that? He didn't even kick out?
Yeah, hardly kicked
And
out.
then-
Oh! There it is. There's the big moment, the beginning of the Elite Alliance. Why was it so important to you to sort of make Alex a pet project?
Because when I first saw him, I was like, he reminds me of me in a way, but he's different to me also in a way. And I was so impressed with his ability as a wrestler and to cut promos. And I was like, Alex, when you come to WZWA, I'm siding with you, and we're going to be, tied to the hip for quite some time, and then eventually we're going to have a big feud. So it was always the idea that like Alex would eventually be like the top babyface one day, but we would have to, really build to that art, over the next 18 months, which is what happened.
Pop this for us.
And the winner of the match and my new tag team partner, Rockstar, Alex Stone.
So, you mentioned that there wasn't really much, backlash from the originals as far as booking and stuff. At what point did you feel like they sort of started to become a little bit resistant to the fact that a lot of other guys, especially from ICWS, were getting those prominent spots? Was there a time where you felt that they became more kind of resistant towards it?
It would have been like...
Was any of that manifesting itself around this time at all?
It would have been around Hostile Backyard Showdown when I made myself the champion, obviously. That's when some of that stuff began. But I think when there was the realization that they are definitely mid-card right now, and the ICWS guys are taking the more prominent spots, I think that's when that kind of stuff began.
Yeah.
But I never got that from Jacob. Jacob always was on my side because Jacob knew I was going with him, and I made him the backyard champion, and he was going to have a pretty prominent role. So Jacob was pretty on board with everything. But all the other shit that was going on was, I don't think Jack so much. I think, when Eli and stuff was getting in his ear, Jack was pretty much like, no, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to fucking go with you when I've already made the decision to go with Carl. I might not agree with all of his ideas or whatever, but, that's really annoying while I'm trying to talk.
What, the vaping? Well, I don't have any ciggies.
Yeah, well, you just gotta fucking... Are you getting what I'm saying?
Yeah, I can definitely understand, because I remember Jack...
Look at that belt.
I actually, it's interesting that you mentioned before, me and Eli were sort of scheming behind your back, but, that never happened from my point of view. All I ever said to Jack was, are you 100% sure that this is what you want? You want Carl? And the only reason I asked him that was because I wanted to make sure that because I knew what it was like with you booking, right? I knew that you were going to sort of, take it really seriously and, put a lot of effort. I wanted him to understand that, if he put you in charge, you were going to be in charge. It wasn't going to be his thing. Do you get what I'm saying?
Of course.
It wasn't going to be... I wanted him to understand, if you put him in charge, you do not just get to,
You've lost... Yeah, you've lost the Federation.
Yeah, I was so you've got to decide...
It's horrible. I know it's horrible to think
it's not... It worked out for the best.
It did, but
I was
when I look back now,
then,
I kind of do feel a bit horrible about it. As soon as you relinquish the power to me, that's it, dude. I've taken it now, and you can't get it back.
Yeah.
You can't. Not at that stage. It's weird. Isn't it a weird thing? I don't really own anything, do I? It's not my house. It's not my ring.
Technically,
I don't own it.
But he he was pretty adamant. He's like, "No, I'm going with Carl. I think that Carl's got good ideas." Like, you know.
I mean, at first, as I said before, like Jack and I were in dialogue about how things were going to go and what we were going to do. But once we got around toward the resolution time period, sorry, I've been just fucking tripping over my words all night. Once we got around that time period, I kind of moved a bit further away from Jack because information was getting leaked, and I couldn't afford to have things spoiled because the guys couldn't, because he couldn't. Oh. Look, I mean, dude, he's pretty he's pretty good in comparison to remember what he was like in 2015.
Like, look at how.
Can you believe that drop kick?
He's very. Yeah, I was gonna say but you were talking I was gonna say how smooth that drop kick was, like how high he got. So
he had his moments.
What was the motivation for putting Jack against Mikanos then?
That's a Jack idea.
He wanted to wrestle.
He wanted to wrestle Mitch.
So you wouldn't have put Mitch against him?
No, if that's what Jack wanted, I was like, I've got no problem doing a champion versus champion match. Like, that sounds interesting. Let's do that. It might help Jack by having him wrestle Mikanos,
I think it is helping, because I'm looking at him doing some
swinging
good shit.
Like, when has he ever done?
When has he ever hit the ropes and really locked in a neck breaker? And so
it was locked in. It was so locked in.
Yeah, think about it. Think about how polished it was. Like, it
was beautiful,
all in one motion, holding him all the way down into the bump.
I can see some of his inexperience here, though. Like, he's getting pinned, and his head's up, and he's looking at the referee. Like, that's just some of that early inexperienced stuff which he was going to get out of his system.
I think a lot of wrestlers...
But he's doing pretty fucking good.
Very nice landing.
Can you believe that he's this good here doing things like that, but later on in 2015, early 2016, he was fucking atrocious.
Well, I can believe it, because I saw him
when he commits to shit.
I saw him have some. He never had a bad match in ICWS. That was the interesting thing. Anytime he did an ICWS show, he was all in, man.
Except maybe the Knuckles match wasn't very good, but
that was a bit different though, because that's a whole different kettle of fish, man.
Yeah.
When you go against him, but
at this stage, man, I'm still trying to figure out what Jack Wallace is, what that character is,
who it is, what's the deal,
what his thing is,
And then, but I mean, you can really see a lot of sort of passion from both guys here. It's good, but see, it's interesting that you're like, who is Jack Wallace and who is, what else did you say? Who is Rex Regum and stuff? Because
I'm still trying to figure out why he's the champion.
For me, I always felt like at this point in time, Mikanos.
Oh, dude! Until 12 back Reagan.
So smooth, yeah. I always felt that Mikanos was the one that couldn't make up his mind of what he was going to be. He always was trying to change his character.
Dude, he was happy doing the Psycho Mikanos thing at this point right here.
Yeah,
I was happy with it. I wanted him to be my Taz. I wanted that Dragon Sleeper to be the Taz mission. As soon as he locks it in, it's over.
Yeah.
That's what I was trying to get over with Mikanos.
Oh.
And he was a heel.
Yeah.
And this was the last time he ever was a heel.
Is this also the only time the ICWS title was defended?
Yeah, well, it was technically called the GBYWN Australian Championship, but he used the ICWS title because we didn't have an Australian title for him to hold, so that's the only reason why he came out with it. But at this stage, I think he's technically still the ICWS champion.
Are those belts the same thing then, technically?
Yeah, because the ICWS title was the GBYWN Aussie title at the same time, at this point. But
and then once we have WZWA as well.
Once he lost the ICWS title to Chaos, he still retained that Australian Championship because that's when the belts parted ways.
Because now it was going to be defended in both feds. So you couldn't really use the main title of one to sort of represent the...
Yeah, exactly. So that was the whole idea, that we knew eventually that...
Oh, fuck!
Both belts were going to be... the belts were going to be split apart again, and it wasn't going to be a unified thing anymore, because, as you said, it was going to be defended in both federations, as at this point, we still thought ICWS was going to be a thing going forward. We still thought it was going to continue, just like WZWA, and we have 2 shows a month.
It would have been... I ended up sort of being glad that it didn't continue both at the same time, and the ICWS sort of became more of a,
Well, here we go, to the top. But yeah.
Sort of became more of a sporadic thing rather than and then this sort of became the full-time fed.
But I mean, I remember, at this point, do you remember that we would have a WZWA show and an ICWA show for at least 3-4 months to a month? Like, that was fucking exciting for me.
I liked it. Yeah. But, like, it's like, I remember at the time
but it couldn't have sustained.
When everyone started sort of moving over to WZWA and making that the priority, I remember, like, I resented it a bit. But then, like, eventually I was sort of like, well, why am I resenting it if I'm a part of WZWA as well? Like, I don't have anything to prove.
That's a great bump from Jack.
Yeah. I remember thinking, well, ICWS doesn't really... Just because we're not really doing it anymore doesn't mean that it wasn't good. Just means that we've evolved. We're now sort of doing this.
Yeah.
And then that was kind of my attitude about it. And if anything, I became more resistant to doing ICWS because I was like, well, why do we need it? We've got this. Like,
but it was probably a relief for Chris Zeplin that this came along when it did, because he was like, he
would have already been, if not for WZWA, well, that was fucking stupid. If not for WZWA, I think ICWS probably would have had a pretty anticlimactic kind of, ending and stuff like
if this didn't come along, it would have just ended, wouldn't it? And then that would have been it. Like, we couldn't have kept doing it at the Zeppelin's house if Chris wasn't going to be in charge, and you were in Schwa, and Dan wasn't
right, because I was in Schwa too.
Yeah, you were,
I often forget about that. Like, I always forget.
Like, you totally were, man. Like, I actually almost feel like at this point I barely even knew you anymore, because I was gone from Schwa. He fucking hit the discus fucking elbow on that faggot Tim. Is that Tim?
No, that's Chris, man.
Oh, it's Chris.
He's still a
Sorry.
faggot,
Yeah,
go on.
Chris. I didn't mean to call you Tim. I just kind of took a glance. Oh, and Dynamo helping out. Jack, what are you doing, man? He's trying to revive the referee, Jack. You're being really obnoxious right now, Jack.
Just a dumb cunt, man. What were you saying? You felt like you didn't even know me anymore, blah, blah, blah.
Oh, because, you weren't really around anymore. It felt like you weren't really a part of it anymore because you were with Eli and all that, and you two kind of sat together at the shows at this point. And see, look, he's got his head up.
I don't know. I mean, because you did pro wrestling for a while as well.
I'd already finished with.
But I think you have to understand is kind of how I was only 16 when I started.
You were totally in. I
think it's hard for people to kind of, because I often will have a bit of a bitch about people if they sort of sell out on the friendships that we made through backyard wrestling to go to pro wrestling.
Yeah.
But it's easy for me to say that from my situation, from my position now that I had a mixed experience there, and now I'm not interested in it anymore. But when you're actually in there, you really think, you're like, man, I'm going to be on shows every week. Yeah. There's going to be 500 people screaming for me.
Isn't it an interesting thing how your mind frame changes towards all this when you're actually in that kind of
and it's like you don't have a choice. You don't notice that that's what's happening. I still thought that I was...
No, you wouldn't notice, would you?
Yeah, I still felt like I was loyal to all the boys and stuff doing the yachting. I just felt like I'm going to keep supporting them, and I've got my own thing going on.
Like when I was in Schwa, I didn't go to an ICW show the whole time I was in Schwa.
Yeah, I know, and I used to be like...
I don't understand why. I just didn't do it. I wish I did, because I missed out on a lot of awesome stuff.
You directly told me that you can't be seen to associate with ICWS because it make you look bad in front of the Schwa people.
I think I was really dedicated to the cause at that point. Anyway, Mikanos wins by a submission. And fun little story. I actually was considering changing the finish of that match for Jack to go over, because I'd had an argument with Mitch about what his character was going to be and what he was going to be doing going forward.
I just fucking mentioned the character and you didn't bring it up. What was like...
Well, I wanted him to be my Taz or whatever, and he was pretty happy with that, but he also, I don't know, he was never really satisfied during this 2012 run, despite the fact I feel like it was the best I ever booked him.
Yeah, but and I love you, Mitch. I'm copying Jim Cornette. Where he's like... And, Bret Hart was a bit of I love you, Bret. But you were a bit... It's sort of like that. I love Mitch, but he was fucking like...
Oh, Jack and Monet. Look at them trying
trying to look tough. Yeah.
They're getting over this, trying to get over this angle. You know what... we'll get to Mikanos again in a second. You know what pisses me off?
Yeah.
Finding out that these two never were a tag team before Frostbite... And
then all
they
of a
made
sudden...
it seem like that they were a tag team, and now we're doing a breakup storyline.
Dude, I never fucking
I didn't
heard
find
of
that out
that.
until years later.
Dude,
and
I
I'm
never
like,
knew about that until
you guys
right
were
now.
never a fucking tag team before that. Then why were we doing a breakup storyline
Yeah.
if we weren't already a team?
Dude, I always...
And they were like, I don't know, we're just doing whatever. It's just like, oh, fuck you, Monet.
I always thought that they'd been teaming, like, since the beginning.
Because I remember looking back at the old results, and I'm like, were you guys actually ever a team? Because I don't see anything in them that is like, oh, no, we weren't. We just made that up to you just so we could do this storyline. I'm like, well, what are you breaking up over if you never actually were a team, you little faggots?
Yeah, like, what's the point? Because I remember the way that I always thought that they were, like, they'd been a team since, like, EBW or some shit. Like, I thought that they'd been... Because they ended up having such a rich history, I always thought that their team went even before this point.
Nah, it never happened.
That's fucked, man. That kind of ruined some of the magic. Because I
I'm sorry to ruin the magic, but anyway, like, just to finish off quickly on Mikanos, I don't know, we had some sort of disagreement about something to do with how I was booking him or whatever, and I don't know why, because, you know, he'd gone over in both matches that I fucking booked him in, but I was going to change the finish, but then Jack said to me, nah, just keep it the way that it is. So Jack convinced me not to do it.
Okay, but you don't really remember the disagreement, but
I can't quite remember.
You think it was something about his
It was
character.
something to do with the way that I was booking him, and I can't for the life of me still understand why Mitch never liked anything that I booked for him back then. He just didn't like anything.
You should see if Mikanos is on Facebook and message him and just be like, dude, do you remember why we... And see if he answers back.
We were bickering for like a whole year. Like, we were bickering constantly because he was just never satisfied. I want to be in a tag team with Three Dog.
Dude,
they have one tag match.
Dude.
I don't want to be in a tag team with him anymore.
Isn't it so interesting how there's those few people... I never had an argument with... Oh, I can already tell this is going to be a great match, Jacob versus Monet. And
this is the main event, by the way.
Yeah, I'll actually just... Because I, you know, and Jacob and Monet are two really close friends of mine as well.
Fuck, they're doing pretty good.
Yeah. And I implied earlier when I said that I thought Chris was the best out of the originals. It's like, I don't want to imply that I didn't think that Monet and Jacob and stuff were really good.
But look at what they're doing here.
I thought that they were naturals as well.
Don't tell me he's going to do a fucking double powerbomb.
Yeah.
Oh, sick.
Perfectly done, yeah. I definitely agreed with you that Jacob had like a natural...
Oh, nice reversal again. Fuck, this is actually fucking sick.
Hasn't... But I just want to say, like, I definitely felt like Jacob did have that natural ability and stuff like that. I just felt as though Chris was the one that... Like, if it was ICWS, it would have been... Chris would have been, like... But then again, it's once again, it's like it's another thing though.
But if you were booking,
I never had the same. But I never had the same issues as you either.
But if you
like,
were
I never had,
and he was being a cunt to you, would you have given him that push?
No,
there you go.
No, because I remember like I fucking used to get shit from Del Cano and stuff occasionally.
Did you see that arm bar? The way that he rolled into that.
Beautiful.
These guys are fucking killing
Beautiful fucking.
I'm looking at this now. I'm not at the show anymore. I've gone home.
Why'd you go home for?
I was depressed.
You what?
I was depressed.
I can't believe that, man. Well, I can.
I left before the main event. I can't believe I did that.
And it's a good match.
Yeah.
I
don't know what the fuck I was thinking. I don't know why I couldn't have just stayed around. I just wasn't feeling happy.
Dude, occasionally, man, you just got to take care of your mental health, man. You know? Like, people can say what they want about, Carl left the show.
Because I remember they fucked up the finish a little bit.
I don't really...
We'll get to that.
I think that, sometimes you just got to take care of yourself, man. Obviously, at that point in time, you felt as though I need to be...
I had to go.
I need to be on my own, you know? I've been there before.
So I think we should talk about the Backyard Championship and why.
Definitely. But you'll have to sort of, like, set the table for that because
Well,
not as familiar with everything.
So I remember in XCW, John pitched to me the idea of having a backyard championship, and I said, that sounds like what you call the heavyweight title. We've already got a heavyweight title. Let's do a hardcore
You also
title.
had like the Extreme Carnage title, which I thought that was the.
That came in later. We merged we unified the hardcore and the television title together to make the Extreme Carnage title. Don't ask me why we had a television title. I don't know why.
When you have nothing resembling a television program.
Yeah, which is why Mitch had the OWA Television Championship.
I think that we never even did a proper show with that. So
anyway, I thought, how about we have the Backyard Championship? whoever the champion is has their own stipulation. This is me trying to be cutting edge. Their own stipulation that every match is under, which for Jacob was Extreme Rules, and their championship would be a custom championship. Custom-made championship.
So it's basically if you win that title, you dictate
yes.
how you defend it. Like
so
it's
the
your
ball
thing.
is in your court. You've got the advantage as a champion even more.
And that would have been a good idea if we'd really stuck with that idea, because that would have automatically built in.
We stuck with it for quite a while.
For like whoever had it.
We stuck with it quite a while. I think it was up until.
Well, didn't I do that British rules match when I had the? No, that wasn't the backyard title. Though.
That's way off course.
Oh, is that way? Is that a totally different?
Yeah, that was just a match. But yeah, Jacob had Extreme Rules. Alex had submission. Falls count anywhere. That was his thing. Ryan had submissions count anywhere because he was a submission guy.
He loves his submissions.
Mike Del Cano, what the fuck was his stipulation?
Oh, here we go. All right.
I think his stipulation was just that every event it would be a different stipulation. I don't know. Well,
that's not really.
Nick Ariel's was fans' choice, which never ended up happening. And then Kyle's went back to Extreme Rules, Warnborough Street Fight. And then Deacon's was no former backyard champions could challenge for the championship just to fuck with Kyle. And then Kyle won it back, but Kyle lost it pretty quickly to Ryan. Ryan lost it back to Kyle the following show. I don't think Kyle actually defended the belt until he lost. I think by that point the stipulation thing was done with. I completely fucking forgotten about it. I didn't care anymore at that point to worry too much about it. But I'll tell you what, man. Like, oh yes, I was going with Jacob as the first backyard champion, but I'll tell you what, dude. That dude fucking established that title. The matches he had with Ice, with Chaos, with Dynamo here, with Rex and Chaos, with
he
Mikanos,
hardly ever had a bad match.
With those matches, the one with Alex, those matches I think had a huge thing to do with Rad Hazard saying, we're giving you the world hardcore title. So now the backyard title can't be our version of a hardcore title anymore. We've got to kind of do something a little bit different. Dude.
Just with the... No, I like, the fact is, man, the boys were killing it, man, at that point in time. I don't think that any other product in the world was better. You could argue that the Americans were maybe producing better actual wrestling. But I also felt like, you know how Rad and stuff, and this is relevant to this whole situation, so I'll bring it up while this is still going on. But you know how Rad and everything in the Global Backyard Wrestling Network, that they post the shows from America.
Yeah.
You know, like Paul Kunkel Memorial Tournament and all these other big events that they would do. And I would turn them on, and like after about 5 minutes, I'd be losing interest because the storylines and stuff were almost like too niche, like too inside for people to understand. Whereas with ours, you could turn it on, you could understand what was happening immediately, right? It was like
I always made sure that it was there's a story behind a lot of things, but this match here, this is just in the spirit of competition, Yeah. These two and Rex wrestled at Frostbite for the first backyard champion. It was a 3-way elimination match. Rex was eliminated first, and Monet lost to Antillicus, so naturally that makes Monet the number one contender. This isn't a feud, this is just based on the spirit of competition, which makes sense in a wrestling setting when it makes sense,
I think it makes sense all the time, because I think
the spirit of competition.
The whole purpose of wrestling is that it's meant to be a combat sport.
Yeah.
So I want to mention here as well, I don't know how many people or if anyone's going to actually watch along, but we're sort of seeing, you can already see here that Monet is natural as far as selling and stuff. You can see Jacob's facial expressions and the way that he takes bumps and the way that he sells pain. It looks real. It looks fucking...
Even at this stage of their development as wrestlers, they're still fucking pretty good. Like, they're killing it right now. I think this is a worthy main event. And this is me trying to establish the Backyard Championship could be the main event of any show as well. Just as much as the WZWA title.
Well, I remember the first time that they the WZWA boys like came and did an ICWS show, and they weren't in the thread or anything like that. So, and I remember Dan making a post on the thread going, "Oh, like whether we like it or not, that was like just as good as anything that we do on our shows." Like he was expecting everyone to sort of like, have a bit of a bitch about him. I think like I was like, yeah, like pretty much was. Like I don't think anyone had a problem admitting like that it was really good because they obviously just had that natural fucking ability. So dumb. Like they can't lift it up with a person in it.
Oh no, his eardrums. Anyway, this is like kind of like me also. I'm giving these young dudes, this is their fed to begin with. I'm giving these dudes, a main event early on just to kind of like say sorry that you're not going to have the spot after this. But like still even saying that, I know Jacob and I main evented a show for the Backyard title at one stage as well. So Jacob was still getting main event slots at different stages. But, that's just what I was doing, mate.
Yeah, this has been a great match. This has been a really, really... I don't think I've ever seen this. Well, obviously, I have seen it because I was at the show, but I don't remember any of it.
Oh, gyro kick.
Great I think that was the gyro kick that was actually hell hectic as well. Or maybe it was a different... I know there was one time where Monet hit the gyro kick on Jacob and he really fucking nailed him.
Yeah, it was fucking sick. Well, I don't know what he's doing, but it must be a spot in the match. Look at that entranceway, tied to a fucking ute. That's Aussie backyard wrestling.
Backyard wrestling, man.
That is so Aussie backyard wrestling. The entranceway is tied to a fucking ute.
I remember one time...
Is that thumbtacks? You must be getting thumbtacks out.
There's so few of them. Oh, actually, no, there's a fair few there.
That's pretty good. I
don't get why the cameraman feels that they have to, like...
be Michael J. Fox.
Yeah. Like, if Michael J. Fox was, for some reason, hired as a cameraman, like...
Oh, that was perfectly fucking landed, too. That fucking...
Couldn't have been, like... You couldn't even see the tacks because he landed, his back was over, covering them all up. Like, that's...
None of them really.
Unfortunately, he's wearing a t-shirt, though.
And referee Ryan Cohn with the
so
two count.
I can't ask you a lot of questions about this match because you weren't there at the event.
It doesn't matter if it wasn't there. I still know what the story was behind it.
So did you put Monet into this spot as opposed to Jack or Chris because you just felt like Monet was like the most deserving?
No, it was just he was just the number one contender for the backyard title. There wasn't much thought put into it. He was runner-up in the three-way at the previous show. That's the only reason, really. But obviously now Jack's going to get involved. So
I don't understand this. They seem to be still a team, but they just did that angle before. Like, are they broken up or are they a team?
Well, they're a team still, but we're teasing that they're going to break up. But the finish of the match is supposed to be Jack accidentally hits Monet in the head with a fucking street sign. But instead, when you see
this match or the previous match?
Of this match. He accidentally hits Monet in the head with a street sign, and Monet loses the match that way. But instead, because I wasn't there, I must be an oversight on my behalf. Jack makes it fucking look like he purposely hit him in the head with the fucking street sign, where it was supposed to be an accident.
And there's a distinction. There's a distinction between that, because, if you don't make it look, if you don't act like, oh no, I didn't mean to do that after you hit him, no one's going to know that you didn't mean to hit him.
He just flat out fucking hits him in the fucking head.
Knowing him, he probably stood over him.
You'll see when it happens, dude. You'll see when it happens. And when I remember watching it in the recap and being like, oh, for fuck's sake, it was supposed to be an accident, like how Monet accidentally fucked up with Jack's match. Not just at this show,
so
but
now
he also fucked up at the previous show.
Instead of planting the seeds, we're sort of going all the way.
And then I had to fucking play damage control the next event to try and make them sort their shit out. See? He wasn't supposed to do that. It was supposed to be an accident.
Yeah, like that was a purposeful...
So the next show I had to play damage control and make them make up in a promo as they interrupted me and Alex. So,
but why would you, if your tag team partner hit you like right in the face, point blank, and then cost you a match for a championship, why would you ever like forgive them? Why wouldn't you just kick their ass?
I had to do it because I had to get to the fucking tag team match between us and them at the following event. So that was the whole point. Me and Alex were supposed to wrestle Monet and Jack in a tag team match at Hardcore Hell. And so I had to get them back on the same page in order to fucking get the match like to make sense. The turn was supposed to happen at Hardcore Hell, which is what we went with anyway. So they made up, and then he turned on him again anyway. But you know, that's just one of the annoying things from the early part of the Fed, which it doesn't really matter. But look, great match, and Antillicus is the backyard champion still.
I can't get over how
defense.
How little they look, man.
Yeah, look how little Jacob looks. His little baby face.
Yeah, his chubby little baby face and his little
and that's
fucking
the end of the
Seth
show.
Rogen haircut. Yeah.
That is the end of the show, DJ.
You know
we just watched
what?
Road to Ruin 2012.
I have to be honest, man. That was actually a pretty pleasant watch.
Yeah.
Like, I was expecting that to sort of drag on.
I thought it was going to suck, but it was actually pretty good.
Like, I was like, man, this is good. Like, you know, we're sitting here, like, we're talking, like, what the fuck, man? You know, like, a sort of surprise. Oh, Botchamania. I can't fucking stand it.
Don't talk about what's on the screen now. Let's just keep talking about how we felt about the show and all that stuff. And
but I can see all the pictures there.
just don't, like, what's wrong with you? Like, just don't look. Right. So, Road to Ruin 2012, DJ. We're going to sign off here for the boys. Hour and a half long. And great little show. We saw the beginnings of WZWA and where it was headed. What did you think overall? You just said you liked it. But,
well, to be honest, man, I fucking had a really fun time watching the show. Maybe it's easier to digest it as well because we haven't actually been doing shows.
Yeah.
So it's like, you know, I've been kind of starved for it. But yeah, I actually, you know, I found myself being surprised at like how good everyone already was. I remember for some reason I felt as though people hadn't really progressed that far by that stage. But I was very pleasantly surprised to see that, you know, just how solid everyone was. Standouts for the show: Mikanos, Regum, and probably Monet and Jacob. That's not to say that I don't think everyone else did a phenomenal job. I'm just saying, like, the standouts, if I had to pick a few people that were sort of MVPs of the show.
I think my personal match of the show is the main event. I think that was a pretty decent, and they didn't go too long, they didn't drag it out. The only problem obviously was the miscommunication of the finish, but that's okay, it can be forgiven.
Well, I'm going to sort of take a little different stance. I think that for me, the main event was probably the best match on the card, but my favourite match was probably Mikanos versus Jack, because it was just such a great surprise, and like I've always just enjoyed watching Mikanos wrestle. Like, just little things that he does that I always really enjoy. Like the little kind of, when he takes a drop kick, he sort of takes like a really quick bump, and then as soon as he bumps, he like rolls back onto his feet.
Sorry, keep going.
You know, just little stuff like that, and I was really pleasantly surprised at how Jack went, and I thought he did a great job.
And who's your best wrestler of the show? Who was the MVP for you? For me, it's Dark Ice, because he did what I asked him to do. He worried about his character and getting over the rule-breaking type thing. I was very impressed with Ice's work with that. Despite his match with Rex going a little bit too long, I like the character stuff that he was doing. Pretty cool.
Like, yeah, I'd have to go with Dark Ice as well. I think it would be hard to argue Dark Ice as the MVP. Because not only did he pull the double duty, but, like, he made the stuff work, you know, every step of the way. The match that he had against fucking Ryan was really good. Obviously, Ryan did his part as well, you know, and did really well. But I think that he really helped put Ryan over, sort of stuff. Because Ryan, you know, came into ICWS at the tail end of it, you know. Ryan, unfortunately, I definitely think that Ryan, even if he didn't necessarily vocalize it so much, I think that Ryan felt as though he'd kind of missed the boat a little bit. Like, I think that by the time he came in, he sort of felt like, it's already kind of winding down.
Yeah.
You know? A lot of the, like, upper guys in the Fed were already either moved on or were going to move on. So I think that even though I feel like I did a good job of putting him over at In Your Yard. Not putting him over because I won the match, but getting him over.
Make him look good, yeah.
But I think that I've got to give Ice, fucking almost 100% credit for sort of getting over Ryan. After I watched that match, I was like, man, I want to see what Ryan's going to do next. That was good. That really put him over as like a underdog sort of character. And then Ice's second match against fucking Rex. Yeah, as we both said, it went on a little long. But I think in this case, it went on a little long because the guys were enjoying themselves.
Effort.
Yeah. I think it sort of dragged, but it didn't drag because it was just sort of plotting and shit. It dragged because I think the guys were having fun. They were feeling the chemistry, and they were like, man, let's try and turn it up a notch.
Let's keep going, yeah. And I guess the low light of the show, the worst part of the show was EQG versus Papasido. Kind of pointless.
It wasn't really anything offensive, but it
wasn't offensive, but it wasn't necessary. But still, we needed something else to fill out the day a bit longer.
Although I did like the spot that they did with the where he sets up a chair and fucking he just sits down in the chair and starts reading the paper, and then fucking Papasido puts him in the.
I didn't like it. It was horrible. It was fucking horrible.
I thought that was funny. And then
funny.
He starts using.
I liked seeing him sell a newspaper to them.
Yeah, he was using it as a weapon, like it's a newspaper, But yeah, no, I was actually really impressed with the show. I think.
Do you have any final questions?
Well, final questions. Not really. I mean, do you want to do any more watch-alongs?
I want to do more, yeah.
Yeah, I think that would be good.
But I'd like to do it in chronological order. So if we do another one, we'll have to be the next show, which I believe is Hardcore Hell. I believe it's Hardcore Hell. So
okay.
I think that's also about an hour and a half long.
I think we'll wrap it up. We're at 1 hour 40. So my final question before we sign off, I guess, would be, having watched the show, how did you think it went, man?
I'm pretty happy.
Do you think that it sort of accomplished everything you wanted it to accomplish? Do you think that it sort of set the table the way that you wanted to do?
I'm really actually quite happy with how it went. I think what my goal was to establish people. I established Ice's character. I established Ryan. I established Mitch. I established Antillicus more as backyard champion. I'm still trying to figure out the Jack and Monet thing, but I'm establishing their little storyline. I established Alex, screwed over Dan. Now we've got a bit of heat on Dan. Established myself as a character. So all in all, Ice, Rex, all up and down the card, everyone had their opportunity to establish themselves, and this is just the early days of WZWA, and that's what we're talking about, establishing. So I'm really impressed with the early stages of WZWA and knowing how it builds and how it grows as it goes forward. I think it's a really exciting kind of time that we had in our backyard wrestling tenures, and certainly looking forward to doing another one.
Yeah, me too. I think it's a lot of fun. I think we're probably going to have some fucking hilarious shows.
I didn't realise that maybe the podcast has got more than 100 episodes in it. But now we're at that point now, DJ, aren't we? We're at that point now where we can sit here and maybe reflect on these things. And yes, my documentary will hopefully come out next year, but that kind of really focuses on me and stuff, and I don't get to go talk about the nitty-gritty of all these things. So maybe this is a good avenue we can go down to really get into that nitty-gritty.
Yeah, exactly. And, just basically pat our own egos and hear ourselves talk.
Put myself over for the great job I did. But, there will be times where I will talk badly about some stupid decisions that I made and dumb ideas that I had.
But I don't
think any of them happened at Road to Ruin. I think it was a pretty solid little event.
Yeah, I don't think there was any flaws in it, really.
No.
Any fault that you could find with it.
Well, DJ, thank you very much for being on the show, and appreciate it, my friend.
No worries,
Had fun.
Friend. Me too.
And, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for listening to the GBYWN Australia podcast. This little look back at WZWA Road to Ruin 2012. DJ and I will reconvene at some point in the future to do Hardcore Hell 2012. controversial in the fact that every match would be no disqualification. So thank you for listening. Stupid.
Ridiculous.
So thank you for listening, and we'll see you next time. Thank you.
Take care, guys.